would love to introduce, well, first myself. I'm Tessa Garner, Parent Engagement Coordinator at Beach Cities Health District, and I'm really glad to have you here with us today. We have Rachel Rush and Joni Plake here, and they're going to do a great session on mindfulness. So take it away.
All right.
Cool. Rachel, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Rush, and I'm an educator in the South Bay, and I also teach mindfulness and yoga. I found mindfulness through teaching first grade at Hermosa View when I learned about the Mind Up program. And since then, it's just become a really big part of my life and has made a really positive impact on myself and my teaching as well. And this last year, I started a company called Mindful Circle, and I do professional development for educators with Beach Cities Health District. And I teach kids mindfulness, and I also get to teach yoga with Joni. So thanks for having me here today.
Thanks. And similar background to Rachel, I'm also an educator. I'm no longer in the classroom, but I was in the classroom for 6 years. I taught elementary school in New York City and then moved out here to California, where I taught for 3 years and was introduced to the Mind Up curriculum. So that's also kind of what got me into the mindfulness realm, and then also my own yoga practice. And so after studying and going deeper into my own personal yoga practice and then also mindfulness, I decided to leave the classroom and start my own company, Kids Yoga and Mindfulness Company, Breathe and Learn. And I offer after-school programming and all to do with yoga, mindfulness, and social emotional learning. And then I also connected with Beach Cities a few years ago and have helped with professional development for teachers and classes for kids too. So I'm really happy to be here and be in this space with Rachel, who also has so much knowledge to share, and sort of walk you through some ideas, especially right now while we're at home, how you can incorporate mindfulness into your day.
So we'll just start with a little sit to get us grounded and in the present moment. And all of the tools and meditations that we do today are going to be things that you can use personally and with your kids at home. So I'll invite you to sit in an upright position and gently close your eyes if you feel comfortable. And just begin to follow your breath as it moves in and out of your body. Noticing the inhale and the exhale. And I invite you to pay attention to your belly as you breathe. You can even put your hands on your stomach. And we'll take a big, deep inhale, just noticing your belly as it expands. And exhale, noticing it fall. We'll do that a couple more times, just taking a big, deep inhale. And exhale. And one more on your own, just noticing your belly expand almost like a balloon. And then falling as you exhale. We're just using our breath right now as an anchor to help clear our minds and get us settled into this space. So you can take one more deep breath on your own, paying attention to the rising and falling of your belly. And then And you can begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes and gently blink open your eyes and come back to the space around you. So we like that one as a start to a class, or anytime you're feeling overwhelmed or you'd like to practice mindfulness with your family. That's a good one, just to pay attention to your belly as you're breathing. And you can also use the metaphor of a balloon, inflating it and letting it go as well.
Thanks, Rachel. Hopefully you can just feel, like, notice the difference in how you feel. And now that we're right, I know I can. You like, don't think, you know, oh, just a few breaths, but just bringing you into the present moment. And like Rachel mentioned, I think it's also important to remember that your kids might not sit with you the whole time, and that's okay. I think as long as you can sit and breathe, or set an expectation that we're going to take these 5 breaths or sit for 2 minutes, and even if they get up and move, that you keep breathing as long as they're safe and moving around. I think modeling the breathing is really important too. If they see you doing it, not to force it too much, but just first and foremost modeling the behaviors yourself. Which sort of gets how we wanted to start this off after the breathing, of course, is talk about mindfulness and the difference between informal mindfulness, like an informal practice, and a formal practice, because the word mindfulness is thrown around quite a bit. And I think it can sometimes be confusing for kids. A lot respond with that it's being calm. And while that's definitely a result of a mindfulness practice, or like happens while you're in it, there's also simply moving through your life as a mindful person in terms of behavior. So when we teach mindfulness, we kind of do teach both parts of it. Being a mindful person, whether that's being mindful with how you eat, or being mindful while you're reading, or mindful while you're playing, it simply just means being present and being aware of that one thing you're doing. So that's definitely a definition that we share with kids, just paying attention to one thing at a time, right? The total opposite of multitasking, which all of us love to do when we're on our computers and have multiple browsers open, right? Usually, and we know this about the brain, that we work best, even though we think we can do more than one thing, and we can, that we're most productive, and everything is just better when you're focusing on one thing at a time. So that being an informal definition, that you can just move through your life mindfully with this awareness. And then the formal practice, which is what we just took part in, is actually sitting, the sitting practice and breathing. So Rachel's going to take you, explain a little bit more of what the formal practice is, but just to clarify, so the informal practice is just how you move through the world, being aware in the present moment.
Thanks, Joni. So yeah, that's the informal practice. And the formal practice is more about sitting and clearing your mind and following your breath. And one way we describe this to kids is using something called a mind jar. So this is something that you can also make at home. And we describe it as a metaphor for our mind, and all of the glitter swirling around are like our thoughts and emotions when we have a lot going on or we're overwhelmed. But if we sit and breathe and follow our breath, the water clears a bit, our emotions and our thoughts settle, and we're able to see clearly. So for the jar, you're able to see clearly through the jar, and our minds become clear so that we can make good decisions or mindful decisions, and so that we can problem solve and communicate with family and friends. So the formal practice, we'll show you a few different tools today, but that is something that some of you may be familiar with. It's sitting and following your breath, or it's sitting with your eyes closed and paying attention to the sounds around you. And we'll give you a few tools today to show you how you can implement formal and informal mindfulness at home.
And I think the best thing about the mind jar, which Rachel just showed, and if you have a chance or can use even a snow globe at home to explain the idea or the purpose of mindful breathing activity, is that the thoughts settle, but they don't go away. Like, we're not trying to get rid of these emotions and feelings. Like, I think sometimes we have this idea that we just want our brains to be empty, but that it's very common for our mind, thoughts to be swirling, but just the practice allows them to settle and then create that like clear space for us to make good decisions. So yeah, and the tools we'll be sharing today, when Rachel and I were discussing this, is to be proactive about sharing these tools. So to be practicing mindfulness, mindful breathing, or just reading mindfully, however you approach it, at times when your children are in a calm, in a relaxed state. Not necessarily relaxed, but they're not in a tantrum or they're not having a big feeling, because we know about the brain that once you're in that fight or flight or really big emotion state, that you're not ready to learn something new. And so the hope is that once you prepare them before, when you get into that state, you can remind them, but you're not teaching them a new tool.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, our goal today is to give you some tools that you can use this afternoon, that you can use right away with your families. And it's really important to remember that less is more. And when you can keep it simple, that's the most effective way to bring mindfulness home, and with your kids as well. So some of the practices might seem really simple, but they have a big effect. And the first one that we wanted to, Joni, did we want to gather the age of the kids?
Oh yeah, if we want to type, for the people that are here, if you want to type in the chat of the different ages of your kids that you're hoping to share this practice with, cool, 8. And then we can sort of tailor to, nice, okay, teens, great, teens.
Okay, so some older kids.
12
and 15. Okay.
All right, so we've got a nice little range.
Yeah. All right, so this first one is great for all ages, and it's probably something you've done before, and it's a gratitude practice. So gratitude, I think it gets thrown around a lot, just like the word mindfulness, but gratitude can really help your mind and body become calm, and it can help you have a positive and optimistic outlook on life. So it's a really great practice to have, especially right now during this time. And there are a few different ways that we like to practice gratitude. And one of them is that you can simply write it down in a journal every day. And we'd like to invite you all to share in the chat maybe a couple things that you're grateful for. So if you want to just take a moment to take a breath and think about what you're grateful for, or if something comes up during this discussion, you can feel free to type it into the chat as well. Okay. So yes, journaling this is really, really helpful. You can do it at the beginning or the end of your day. You can encourage your kids to do it along with you. And a fun activity is to make a gratitude chain where you write down what you're grateful for on strips of paper. And then every day you can add to it and you just loop them together. I don't have one with me, but you just loop them together and make a chain. Do you have one, Joni?
I thought I did, but I think it's gone.
Okay, that one's fun for the younger kids, but even teenagers enjoy that as well. And you can have it hanging in your kitchen or someplace in your house. And then you can also use a gratitude chain in the morning if you're sitting with your kids and breathing or trying a mindfulness practice. You can use that chain to look at and to say what you're grateful for. Another one is simply a Post-it wall. So on one blank wall in your house, you can use Post-its to put up different things that you're grateful for. And it's just a nice reminder to have, and it's something really positive to have in your house. And the last way that it's really nice to practice gratitude is by having a jar And I've seen this done a few different ways. So you can have little strips of paper that you just fold up and you write what you're grateful for. You could write a happy moment from the day, or maybe a success that you've had that day. And you can put it into the jar, and then maybe a week later or at the end of the month as a family, you can look through the jar and see all of the things that you're grateful for, or remember something funny that had happened, or a great day that you had. And I think right now, when our minds tend to go to the negative or worry about the unknown, it can be a really nice thing to do as a family to bring some positivity into a discussion. And then of course you can always just go around the dinner table and say what you're grateful for using either the jar or the Post-it wall or a gratitude chain. So those are a few ways, and depending on the ages of your kids, you can choose from that as well. So I see a lot of great things in the chat, that we're grateful for nature, health and family, a safe space to call my home, our beach in the Strands, that we get lots of fresh air. We're definitely lucky to have that. Family and health, living your family after 20 years of being away, that's huge. So yeah, these are all really great things. Thank you guys for sharing. And we'll also be able to send out a resources page to everyone participating so that you'll have these tools. So if anyone's taking notes, we can send those out to you as well. Anything you want to add to that, Joni?
No, that was great. I mean, I think that, you know, the gratitude journal and all of that is thrown around so much, but I do think there's a reason for it too, you know, and I know when I'm in the regular practice of writing in it, it does shift your mindset when you wake up in the morning. And so just like a small practice, like you said, less is more, somehow incorporating that gratitude with your family into the day, especially now, is so important. So yeah, I think that's a great mix to choose from, no matter, or depending on what age your kids are. And so the next thing I guess I wanted to share was a grounding exercise. So again, thinking about how our minds are just so easily jumped to what's next and into the unknown. And I mean, I think especially now, it's like a daily practice for myself not to think forward. Oh my gosh, what about this? What about the summer camp I'm supposed to host? What about, right? That I need a way to come back to the present moment. And one really great way to do that is to tap into our senses. And so this is a common exercise used with all levels, even up through adults. And it is simply taking a moment. So we'll actually practice it together. And you'll keep your eyes open for this one. But it's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the 5 designating your sense of sight. So right now, I just want you to look around and find 5 things that you see just around you right now. And then you can name them in your head. You can name them out loud. For me, I see a big calendar, a bookshelf, a sweatshirt, a hat, and a water bottle. And then after you name those 5 things, we move into 4 things that you can touch. So this could be even like touching something on your body, your shirt. I can touch the desk, chair, and my computer. The third thing are 3 things that you can hear. So I'll give a moment of silence so you can listen. I can hear people talking outside. I can hear someone else talking behind me. And I can hear the sound of my fan. And then finally, oh, we've got 2 more, round 2. Smell, 2 things that you can smell. I can still smell coffee and a banana. And then finally, something you can taste. Not really sure about the taste right now. That's a tricky one. Maybe just whatever I just had to drink, lemon water. So those 5 like short exercises force you, right, by looking around you, tapping into your senses to come to the present moment, right? When we're taking our attention to these things, then our mind is not wandering off into the future or back into the past. So something that if you just notice for yourself or again for your family, I find it works. I've been using it a lot with as young as 4.5-year-olds all the way up to like 6th grade. So I know that it's worked really well for my students in that age range. And then I also have who I actually learned it from, an adult yoga teacher who works with a lot of adults and teaches mindfulness and more restorative practice, that she uses it, a grounding. So I think across the board, a nice, quick, easy way to bring yourself back into the present moment and away from all of those maybe thoughts that are flying around. So yeah, that would be the next one. And then Rachel's got another quick one for you.
Yeah. And I really like that one, Joni, because even though we're hosting this, I was very focused on my objects around me. So, and thinking about what I taste, and yeah, it really just takes your mind off of other things. So I like that one. Okay, so this next one is maybe geared towards the younger kids, but I actually use this. I went to Maricosta to talk about ways to reduce stress and to focus when they were having their finals, I think in the fall. And I used this one for those students and got a really good positive reaction from them. So this is called Take 5, and you simply use your hand to trace and to breathe with. I also had a colleague recently show me this one using a starfish. So you could, if you happen to have one, you can trace the starfish as you inhale and exhale. So you can try this with me. It's really simple. We'll just inhale as we move up our thumb, exhale down, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And you can go back the other way and just notice the sensation of your finger moving up and down your fingers. And then see if you can notice the sensation of your fingers on your pointer finger that's actually moving. You can see if you can distinguish the difference between the two. And I really like this one because it's tactile. So a lot of the formal meditation or in mindfulness can be sitting still. And for our smaller kids, it can be hard to sit still. And even for myself, I enjoy this one. I also like that it's discreet. So you could do it under a desk if you're in class, or if you're on a Zoom call, you can do it underneath your computer. Another way to do something tactile while you're breathing is just joining your thumb to your finger. So you can do a breath for each finger. Or sometimes if I'm sitting in a longer breathing practice, I'll just do this on my own to kind of ground me a bit. And it's just a nice way to focus my attention and to kind of get out of my monkey mind when my mind is really busy. So that's a good one. If you have any kind of object that you can trace as well, I'm trying to see if I have anything. I don't have a starfish or a sea star on me, but yeah, that's a very simple one, but a good example of just how the simple practices work.
Mm-hmm. And I lost you there for a minute because my AirPods went out. But
Oh.
I'm not sure. I lost you when you were explaining this, so I assume that was just like another option for older kids.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then also, I think with the idea of Take 5 is the slow, long breaths, which we had talked about, like the counting breaths. So another practice could be either closing your eyes or keeping them open, and then counting your inhales and your exhales as I think that's a really nice strategy for maybe teens and up too. Younger kids can do it, but if the tracing isn't.
Yeah, I really like that one. I do that one all the time for myself. So I'll just count 1 on the inhale, 2 on the exhale, 3 on the inhale, 4 on the exhale, all the way to 10. And then I start over.
Right. So that you have something to sort of like connect yourself on. Like you're saying it out loud, the numbers as you're breathing. I think allows you to get your mind from, because sometimes if you tell kids any age, even adults, to just sit and breathe, there is nothing to sort of anchor you. It's so easy for your mind to wander for all of us. So having that counting is really helpful. Okay.
Definitely.
Cool. The next one is similar, I'd say more similar to the gratitude practice, that an option to do as a family or around the dinner table or one-on-one with your kids are glows and grows. So it's kind of like rose and thorn, if you've ever heard of that. It's something that I've noticed, especially in quarantine, that we can get really hung up on all the stuff that is not going right. So the same way in a gratitude practice, the glow and the grow allows you to recognize, like, yeah, there's some grows, there's some challenges. And we use that language because you're always, whether we want to believe it or not, there's always a lesson in something that is hard and that is challenging us, right? And so especially in this quarantine, whatever the grow might be, staying at home or Zoom is really hard, just one, allowing them to voice that, creating space for that. And then 2, not even necessarily talking about the lesson, sometimes it's sharing it, but then also sharing what is the glow, what's the highlight of your day or your week, bringing up something that has gone well to shift your mindset, right? Just being careful that we don't get stuck on just one thing, that we're always sort of recognizing, yes, even though this is tough, I still have this sort of thing. So the grow and glow practice has been really great for my Zoom classes personally, just again, for them to be able to hear. I think it's also nice to hear from your family members, but, oh, they're struggling in this way too, right? That creates a connection that this is hard for them also. And it's also just fun to share what's going well and to talk about that too. So I think glow and grow could be a great practice at any time of the day, in the morning, around the dinner table. And then another really great one, which I think could be an exciting project for families, is creating some sort of peace corner if you don't have one already. You could call it a peace corner, a calm corner, somewhere in your house where it's sort of the sacred place where you can go to breathe, to take a break. Maybe it's where the mindfulness practice happens so that it's set away from all the other sort of busyness of the day. And it doesn't have to be, I know we're all in different size quarantines right now, but as long as it is a small place off to the side that is just set for a time to breathe, not somewhere to send, not a timeout, not go breathe, but more of a place that's self-regulating. So you're starting to teach the practice. And again, I think that starts with us as the adults showing our kids, okay, I'm pretty fired up right now, or I'm having a big emotion or feeling, I need to walk away, and having a place to go to just take, use some of the tools we've been talking about. Because I think it is hard. And sometimes that's a bedroom at home. And I think that can be okay too, if they have a special place in their room they can go to, but just encouraging, and it's really fun to create a little space with things, that a mind jar, maybe books, and just develop that tool set, understanding candles for older kids, incense and essential oils, or whatever you have in your home, whatever gives you that feeling of calm too. When you create an environment around that, I think it helps the practice too. And it sort of sets a tone that that's important. So it can look many, many different ways. But I don't know, Rachel, do you have anything to add on what you've seen in peace corners or how people have done them in homes?
Yeah, I think exactly what you said, and you can add any mindfulness tools that you have. I have this breathing ball in front of me, so I'll show it to you guys. Do you know the actual name for this, Joni?
Hoberman sphere.
Okay, Hoberman's sphere. Thank you.
Amazon calls it.
Okay, and I think a piece of it got chewed by my dog, but you can get the idea. You can inhale and exhale with it. And this is a really nice tool to have. My nieces, who are 3 and 5, love to sit and breathe with this, and it just gives them something to watch. Again, the Mind Jar, and also if you have any mindfulness books too that they can go and read that might have some breathing exercises in them. But yeah, just a corner, and it doesn't have to be anything elaborate, just something simple, or a space outside, whatever brings you guys peace.
That would be nice, a space outside too, or in journals, keeping your things there too. Anyone that like is accessible for everyone in the family. I think drawing is a really nice therapeutic calming activity. So I think, yeah, just creating a space in your home can set the tone of, this is important, this is a part of our day, and it's here for you when you need it also.
Yeah.
All right. What else do we want to?
Do you want to do the candle breath, Joni?
Oh yeah. So another, one of the other breathing exercises that I end classes with, but I also like as a loving kindness meditation that's very simple. So loving kindness meditations, they vary in length, but usually it is about sending love to yourself and slowly sending it out to the people around you and to the world. So a really simple loving kindness meditation. If kids are young, you can create a candle with your hand. You can also put your hands over your heart. Sometimes I do that as well. And this can be done seated, or you can do it lying down. And that's another thing for the mindfulness meditation. If you're actually doing a formal practice, some people prefer to sit up. Other times you lie down as long as you're not falling asleep. But I don't think if you're practicing with your kids, I don't know if that will be an issue. So just getting in a comfortable space. But we can try this together. So you just bring your hands to your heart and then you make a candle. And the first wish of love is for yourself. So you close your eyes and you just imagine sending some love to yourself, and take a deep breath in. Exhale, you blow out your candle. You send love out to yourself. And then move your candle a little further away from your body. And if it feels okay, again, you'll close your eyes and start to picture somebody that you would like to send love to today. Maybe it's somebody you're with in quarantine, or maybe somebody you haven't seen. Whoever it is, picture that person in your mind. Let a smile come to your face. And then sit up nice and tall and take a deep breath in. Exhale, send it out. And then finally, reach your arms out, extend them in front of you, and this is love for the world. So closing your eyes and just picturing people across the world that could use your love today. And taking one last deep breath in. Exhale, sending it out. Nice, and bring your hands back to your heart. And for those that have older kids, I know for teenagers that might not, you don't need to do the actual physical candle. There are a lot of loving kindness meditations. If you just type in loving kindness meditation, so many will pop up. And I think the great part with technology now is we have access to so much free content, as long as you sort of know what you're looking for. So again, when Rachel and I send along some of these resources, I'd say 99.9% you could type into Google and get back sort of what we're reviewing. So I think once you know what you're looking for, that's a great meditation to just extend love to yourself and then out to others. So do we want to open it up for some questions?
Yeah, I think that would be good.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
So I invite the participants to undo your blackout screen if you're comfortable doing so. If you want to type your question, that's totally okay too. I think that there's just so much great information that you both shared, and I feel like I want to go do all of them right now.
Great.
And so, I think it's really great to have the options for the younger and older kids. And two, some of the schools have been doing Mind Up, so I think it'd be interesting to see what the kids already know, if maybe they've gotten exposure to it. And I was thinking that maybe inviting the kids to show us one of their favorite mindfulness practices, and maybe kind of make that something that you do around the table or as a family. I think that could be a fun way to help them feel empowered and own it. I think would be nice.
Definitely.
Oh, we got a question.
So with kids always wanting to be on their gadgets, how do we create the space for mindfulness for our older kids? That's a great question, especially with all the technology right now.
I think, well, sort of what Tessa was just saying, maybe open up the conversation about being on technology and what it does to our brains and how it makes us feel, and the importance of taking a break and not being on constant, just like anything else, that there's balance. There needs to be balance. And so we're all sort of living in this really almost unbalanced world, being on Zoom so much and being on our technology and starting to notice how it's affecting your brain. I think that taking it maybe to that conversation, and instead of fighting it right away, sort of like I'm noticing this, and this is what I'm noticing about myself. I mean, just as an adult, like I have to have check-ins with my phone. And I'm about to go on a pretty big break next week of being on. So I think being transparent about your own struggles with your older kids about being on technology, and then say, this is why mindfulness can help, or maybe offer them. I mean, it seems a little counterintuitive because there are mindfulness apps, right, where you can listen to a mindfulness meditation, but maybe creating just when you wake up in the morning, right, before grabbing your phone right away, that we're going to do this as a family, or let's fill out our gratitude journal. I think talking about the effects of technology might be a nice in. This is also, I just went and grabbed this book. It actually talks about technology, and it's called Just Breathe. And I'd say it's geared towards, the tween-ish, maybe into high school. I love it. So I feel like the stuff that I read, it addresses technology in here, and the importance of just how that affects our brain. So maybe bringing just some education around that. Rachel, do you want to add on to how?
Yeah, I was also thinking just to create a time during the day, like in the morning, first thing, or around the dinner table, in the evening, or even an afternoon break, like maybe deciding to put technology away for half an hour, whatever it is, and practicing together. Because I think the more that you guys all practice together, then your children might be interested in doing it on their own once they see the benefits of it. So I think, it is a hard thing to have to tell your kids to put their gadgets away or kind of be in competition with technology. But I think the more that you practice together, then maybe it'll catch on a bit more with your kids too.
Yeah, and just setting like a realistic expectation or goal, something you can do, starting off with like, okay, we're going to do 5 minutes of mindfulness at this time every day for the next week. Don't set yourself up for like 30 minutes. We're going to sit down, and for all month, we're going to do it. I'd say sort of like less is more, start small, and give yourself that space to grow. Because I think 5 minutes will sound very doable to everyone, right? You say 30 minutes and it's like, whoa.
They're like, not 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I think
that's helpful.
Yeah. Also, I was thinking with the teens, kind of some buy-in with mindfulness can be looking at athletes that they really like. So there are a lot of athletes or celebrities that practice mindfulness. So, and I know there's a few YouTube videos on that. And when we've worked with high school students before, that's kind of a nice in with that age group.
Yeah, I actually mentioned it to my middle schoolers. I have a yoga class that I'm teaching, and I don't know if any of you have watched The Last Dance yet, the Michael Jordan Netflix, but towards the end, if you haven't finished, they talk about his greatest gift, and it's a gift of presence, that he was a great basketball player, but one thing that he had, the advantage, was he was fully present when he was on the court and doing those things. So we were talking about that specifically to the swim team I've been working with, that, you know, it is really hard for us to sit and be still, but like Rachel said, there is sort of at the beginning, if you can see that benefit, it's sort of an incentive to start your practice, and see that it's worked for other people, then I think that can be helpful too.
I think along the same lines, I'm hearing you say that, you know, the incorporation of athletes and mindfulness. Is there any sort of practice that you guys are aware of that incorporates movement and mindfulness, like going on a walk, and any kind of things that you can do that where you can become more aware of your body or anything like that?
Yeah, well, definitely yoga, which Joni can explain, but I guess that one's
Duh.
obvious.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, there's mindful walking. I mean, you can go on a walk with your family and then try to observe your surroundings using all of your 5 senses. So what do you see? And noticing sounds around you. So that's a good one to do. And then the actual practice of mindful walking really slows you down, and you pay attention to every step you take, feeling your feet on the ground, your leg moving up and down. So those can be good ones.
Yeah, I think connected back to the question almost is walking, maybe going on a walk without your phone. I know that's one way that I've escaped my technology, is actually you're like, hey, why don't we leave our phones at home when we go for this walk? And so I think that can incorporate both of the movement. And also I think, at least for me, and I know this is a practice I've learned from a few meditation teachers, that movement before you sit down can be really helpful. So any type of, even if your kids are exercising or going out for a run, any of that I'd recommend then piggybacking that with the mindfulness time, because it can be really hard to just sit, right, without getting some of those wiggles out. Everybody's different, but I've found, you know, I've practiced in a lot of different ways, but for me, like after a run or breathing exercises that are a little more invigorating, then it sort of releases that energy and you're able to like sit in. So I think that would be a really great time to then practice the formal mindfulness practice. And yes, of course, yoga. I mean, I think you get the best of both worlds with yoga in that sense.
Well, so kind of piggybacking on yoga, can't believe I forgot about that one, but do you have any, you know, YouTube channels or any type of things that people at home might be able to try out for yoga?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I have, so my YouTube channel is it's called Mindful Circle, and I have some mindfulness videos. There are lessons about mindfulness, and then also some activities and crafts on there. So one of them is making a mind jar. I have the gratitude chain on there. So yeah, a lot of what we've talked about, I have up on YouTube. So, and Joni has some too, right?
I do have some yoga and mindfulness, mixture of things up on my website on breatheandlearn.com. I would say like live classes locally. There's a lot of studios offering a handful of different things. On the weekends, I'm offering family yoga, and all that can be found on my website. I think like finding a studio, and then there's like we said, there is a lot of mixture of free content out there. I know, each cities have?
Yes, as you were talking, I totally spaced.
They have something on, right?
Wow, yeah, so the Center for Health and Fitness does do yoga and a series of other type of videos, but I was thinking more kid specific, you know, I think.
Okay. For younger. I mean, definitely for younger. I guess I was thinking for high school. Sometimes like when I teach my middle school swim team, I'm teaching more of like, I'd say an adult style class, because these kids are definitely like learning about their bodies. They're ready to be teaching more formal, versus for the younger kids, like K-5, more playful classes. I definitely offer, I know Rachel offers things through her website, and I'm offering kids, and there's free stuff on both of our websites also, to just sort of get a taste.
Great. Yeah, and we will share the link to your websites, and like Rachel mentioned, the resource page with everybody who has attended. We can also make that available in we're going to post this video too, so everybody would be able to find all those resources.
The other two resources, I think we also, 10% Happier was the meditation app that we wanted to share. And then Headspace is another one that has a lot of different sections for kids. And usually a lot of the apps offer a certain amount of free content. And then from there, if you need something to sort of guide you, I use Insight Timer. Insight Timer is completely free, but it's like a huge library, so sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, but that's something to sort of poke around on, and you can find different resources there. Yeah. Any other questions that we can help out with, from yoga to mindfulness? Don't be shy.
What are some strategies for getting children to understand being mindful with each other? Yeah. So I think that mindfulness in general, it's really about observing what's going on in our own minds, what thoughts we're having, what emotions we're feeling, and just getting to know ourselves better. And I think naturally through that, when you understand your own struggles and your own mind and emotions, you're able to build compassion for others as well, and understand that, you know, someone might be acting a certain way, but we don't know, we don't know their whole story. We don't know what happened to them or what they're going through. And the loving kindness meditation that Joni shared with us, other meditations like that can really be helpful. And they're really about building compassion within ourselves and our kids as well. So that's what first comes to mind for me. What do you think, Joni?
Yeah, I think it's opening up sort of that conversation almost of what, like, if there is some sort of conflict, understanding yourself a little bit better, and sitting with yourself and sort of diving into that a little bit more. And I guess when we use the word mindful, or being more mindful with each other, I guess we're also like just saying, how do we get people to respect each other in a way, right? Or how do we get our kids to not fight in a sense? And I think that is recognizing the why of it, the root cause of it, which isn't always easy to get to, isn't necessary in the moment. So it's almost back to like the saying, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. That idea of just instead of reacting right away in a situation, that you're pausing, and the importance of, maybe that's a strategy of, if you're upset or you're frustrated or you're about to say something you don't mean, like just having that awareness, right, that you're about to say something. That's like kind of part of the practice, being able to recognize right there, like I am about to flip my lid is like a common, is used by an author, Dan Siegel. And just being able to, so when your lid flips, then you are just totally, you're going to say things you don't mean. You might attack somebody, say things, or just actually do something to harm somebody else. So I guess teaching them to recognize when they're about to not be mindful, what those signs are, what's happening in their body, their sensations, and having some strategies for walking away, maybe before you get to sort of the root cause of it. Does that make sense, Rachel? Like sort of having that, pausing before you react, and having a way to, whether it's walking away or just a simple line that you could say to someone, rather than just, I'm just thinking of siblings.
Right, me too.
Bickering back and forth at each other. the power of just, walking away. So maybe giving a few tools. I'm trying to think of what else we talk about, like walking away, like an I statement, like I feel hurt when you say that, and then that's it. Some other tools.
Yeah, I think also a part of the mindfulness practice, which we haven't had time to get into, is really feeling your emotions and recognizing where in your body you feel those emotions, so that you can have that awareness of when you might flip your lid. So I think the more that you practice mindfulness, it really helps your impulse control as well, just because.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the impulse control.
That's what I was looking for.
Yes. Yeah. So, and yeah, I think creating those strategies for when you do feel really upset, what you can do. Yeah, hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you for your question. Do we have any other questions or things you would like us to cover?
I think if anybody does have any questions, maybe they come up later, we will be able to direct you to Rachel and Joni's website, so you can find their contact information that way, and check out the resources. You can also email me. I can forward along the questions if you'd like. You should all have my emails from the confirmation for the meeting. But I really want to thank you, Rachel and Joni, for taking the time today to facilitate this session. Like I said earlier, I am so inspired to go try out all these things that you shared with us, and I'm really glad for all of you that were able to attend. And if you talk to anybody that wasn't able to attend today, like I said, the session is it is recorded, so we're gonna make that available. So thank you, and we will see you next time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.